And welcome back. Now, more than 1,500 employees at the City of Johannesburg will face possible criminal charges for allegedly fraudulently benefiting from the COVID-19 Social Relief Fund. The city's Group Forensics and Investigation Services found that the officials also received other benefits, such as child pension and military veterans grants. So to talk to us more about this, we're joined by Mlimandlela Ndamase, who's the Mayoral Spokesperson in the City of Johannesburg. Mr. Ndamase, thanks for your time this morning. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers.
Let me start by firstly saying congratulations for uncovering this, because very often we are very hard on you when these sort of things are just left to carry on unabated. So congratulations on uncovering all of this. But firstly, what led to the investigation? Was there a tip-off? Why did you actually get onto this particular trail?
Well, thank you very much for the word of congratulations. I think since the new administration came into the city, one of the reports we received from the Auditor General, outside of the increases in irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, was a concern that there was very little consequence management within the city of those who had transgressed the laws or those who had acted fraudulently or corruptly in adjudicating matters within the city. What the mayor then did, especially with the advent of COVID and anticipating the kind of procurement processes that we would be running, given that it was emergency procurements, there was a number of deviations to be undertaken, was that the Group Forensic and Investigation Services must be on standby and must start a process not only to look into our procurement processes, but we should also be vetting the people who work within the city so that we can be able to detect if we have employees within the city who do not fit within the values that we espouse to, the values of accountability, transparency, and of high ethical standing in as far as managing the issues and affairs of the city are concerned. Therefore, this particular investigation was an investigation undertaken to look into our employees, and unfortunately, the outcomes of that investigation, amongst many other issues which we are still going through, did detect that over 419 employees in the city benefited from the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress Grant, which is very worrying because that was a grant put together by the government as part of its social basket to support the vulnerable, the poor, and those really who had been adversely affected by the advent of COVID-19. Over and above that, we have also discovered that 1,129 plus employees of the city have over time been benefiting, be it from child grants, military veterans grants, social pensions grants, etc. And you would know, and your viewers, that those grants are specifically targeting certain persons within our society. And those persons ought to receive the benefit without any interference from persons who may be receiving these grants illegally and fraudulently.
Is there any indication as to how long those other grants that have been received, for example, the childcare grant, military veterans, or the old age pension grants have been received for? Did your audit actually show that?
Well, what we have done, as I've said, this was an investigation by our Group Forensic and Investigation Services led by General Sibia. What we have now done is to interact both with the South African Social Services Agency and the Unemployment Insurance Fund so that we can communicate and compare notes with regards to our findings. And that would also allow us to be able to detect as to for how long and under what quantum are these numbers that the people who we have identified have been benefiting from these particular grants. It is work ongoing. The mayor has committed that the city in the interim must pursue disciplinary cases against those who have been identified and are affected. And working with SASSA and the UIF, we should then consider if there are any criminal charges that we can pursue against affected individuals.
So just to that point, when you say you should consider whether there are criminal charges to be laid, is this not what they have done? Is that not in contravention of the law? And what action has been taken up until now?
Well, the report is fairly new to us in the city. We are in the process of sharing it with these two agencies, as I have stated. And obviously, and before we can prefer those charges, we need to make sure that evidentially ourselves, SASSA and the UIF compile a docket or a pile of information that would assist any prosecuting authority to be able to follow up the issues with concrete evidence. And hence we say that post our interactions with these two agencies, it is the hope of the city that criminal prosecutions could follow and that people could be charged for this particular transgression, because it could only be an outcome of falsifying documents or fraudulently misleading the state in order to benefit from these grants that would have qualified some of the persons that we have picked up. As a city, though, we are going ahead, we are initiating the disciplinary processes so that those persons who have been picked up by this particular investigation can be brought to book within the city's own processes. But again, there are labor relations laws within the country. We must follow particular processes and we must afford the individuals concerned an opportunity to make representations and to defend themselves in the matter.
Are you setting any time frames with regard to how long you are going to take to actually get this particular process finalized?
Well, the mayor has given an instruction that the issues should be dealt with urgency and they should be expedited. Obviously, being a city of Johannesburg, as you would know, quite a large city with over 40,000 employees and a number of issues that relate to disciplinary cases and consequence management, as I have cited earlier, that had been raised by the AG in the previous administration. There is quite a huge number of people to go through. But expeditiously, we are quite confident that these cases will be dealt with as speedily as possible.
And I ask that because very often we hear of, action and then suddenly it goes quiet and these things simply evaporate into thin air. And this is why it becomes important to actually have time frames whereby you say, we will from this time to that time actually do A, B, C, D. But we'll follow up with you on that, Mr. Ndamase. With regard to the scale of corruption at play here, especially in terms of the amount of money that was fraudulently obtained. Do you have any indication of that?
Well, we know that the social relief of distress beneficiaries obviously have been receiving the 350 grant that came with COVID. That we will quantify in our interactions with SASSA as to whether it was once-off payments or it was payments over a number of months. With regards to the other grants, our interactions with SASSA will also guide us as to whether the individuals we have picked up have been receiving this money over a period of time or whether or not it has been a matter of a month or two. So our interactions that we're having currently, we're hoping that they'll be able to give us a guidance with regards to the quantum so that we can actually look, because I think the biggest crime here that we should all understand and appreciate is that there are possibly 1,500 other people within our society and in our communities who could have benefited from these grants and unfortunately due to this kind of fraud have not been able to benefit, more especially during this very disastrous and difficult time of COVID-19.
And you know what, let's leave it there because we're going to come back to it as soon as there are developments, Mr. Ndamase, and we'll follow up on this one most definitely. But thanks so much for your time this morning, Mr. Mlimandlela Ndamase, the mayoral spokesperson in the city of Johannesburg, talking to us there about over 1,500 officials in the city of Johannesburg who've stolen money that was meant to give relief to people who need it the most in our society, and especially during this lockdown. Absolutely shocking.